Hello, good morning. So, welcome sa lesson na 3 natin ng business management and organization. So, na-discuss na natin yung lesson 2 and upload ko na sa Google Classroom natin. And I hope na nabasa nyo or napanood nyo na yung video lecture natin. Okay? So, if you have any queries regarding our past lesson, please free to message me or message me on the messenger, okay? Now, let's, ano ba yung topic na i-discuss natin ngayon? Ayan, for lesson 3, we are going to discuss the 5 approaches to management. So, what are the 5 approaches to management? So, gaya din ng lesson 2 natin na classified lang siya as approach. Pero the same as the topic that we have discussed in our lesson 2. Okay? Our objectives for this lesson is to discuss the classical and behavioral approach to management. So, what are the classical? Ano ba yung mga classical? Ano yung mga management theories under classical approach? Ano yung mga management theories under behavioral approach? So, papag-aralan natin na yan. Okay? Okay, yan yung mga objectives natin, objective natin for lesson 3. Okay? So, what are the 5 approaches to management? Yan, ang didiscuss lang natin is yung 1 and 2. We have the classical approach and the behavioral approach. And for our lesson 4, we'll discuss the management science approach, contingency approach, and system analysis approach. Okay? Now, let's start with the classical. Ayan, the classical approach, 1800 to 1930. Okay, so, anong sinasabi ni classical approach? So, emerged in the early of 20th century to increase efficiency and of course yung productivity due to the yung evolution ng evolution ng large scale businesses natin. Okay? Syempre, noon na may mga malalaking businesses na yan, ayan, lumabas si classical approach. So, what is the definition of classical approach na sinasabi? So, dito, sabi niya, classical approach of management professes the body of management thought based on the belief that employees have only economical and physical needs and that the social needs and need for job satisfaction either does not exist or are unimportant. So, yung mga empleyado daw economical and physical needs lang. So, wala silang social and the needs of the job satisfaction. So, according to its advocates, high specialization of labor. Ayan. Centralized decision making and profit maximization. So, ito yung sinasabi ni classical approach. Ayan, centralized decision making. So, meaning naka-center lang yung decision sa higher management. And of course, yung profit maximization is very important to this classical approach. So, what are the classical approach? Ano yung mga management theory na nandito sa classical approach? Okay? Ayan, the classical approach, we have the scientific theory or scientific management theory and of course the general administrative management theory. So, na-discuss na natin yan sa lesson 2 natin about what is the scientific management theory na binigay ni Frederick Winslow Taylor. So, siya yung father of scientific management. Ano yung sinabi natin sa last meeting about sa time and motion study niya, di ba? About dun sa shovel, okay? So, scientific management developed to increase productivity through labor efficiency in the 20th century. So, Taylor concluded his studies by laying down certain principles. So, nandiyan sa modules ninyo, anyan, standardization. So, kailangan may standard. Ayan, referring to speed and rate. Ayan, yung sinabi niya sa findings niya about dun sa shovel na yon, sa time and motion. Okay? Using standard and right equipment and tools for the job. So, dapat may standard yan. Dapat yung tama daw yung tools and equipment na gagamitin mo for that job in order na maging productivity yung isang empleyado. Okay? Ayan, development of true science of doing work. Ayan, by studying the nature of work and replacing a rule of thumb. Ayan. And of course, meron din yung principles niya ng systematic selection and training about yan sa scientific management pa rin ni Frederick Winslow Taylor. Sabi niya, scientific selection of employees and providing proper, ayan. Hindi natin matatanggal yung providing proper training and development to your employees. Sabi nga dito, sabi niya dito sa classical approach, yung productivity of the employee is very important, di ba? Yung and of course yung pay incentives din ng isang empleyado. So referring to the increment in the payroll in accordance with the amount of work done. Ayan, yung kapag mas marami kang natapos, mas marami syempre yung salary mo, di ba? So dapat yung trabaho mo natapos mong trabaho naka-align dun sa kung ilan yung babayad sa iyo, kung magkano yung ibabayad sa iyo, di ba? So yun yung para kay Frederick Winslow Taylor, in order for that employee to motivate to work hard, di ba? Para magtrabaho, kailangan matapos ko to. Di ba may kota-kota sila, yung mga ibang company, big company, so kailangan may kota na kailangan nilang i-meet, na kailangan nilang mabenta in order for them to have an incentive. And kapag napasan nila yung kota nila, di ba, may additional incentive sila. Okay? Cooperation between managers and the operative. So, meron din yan. Kailangan din naman yan. So, referring to harmony between the employer and, of course, the employee to accomplish work scientifically and, of course, systematically. Yan. Managers involved in the planning, in planning the work. Ayan, determining the working procedure, time of the doing work. So paano ba yung paggawa ng trabaho na yan? So what are the procedure, yung oras ng trabaho kailangan mo siyang ma-accomplish. Ayan, and of course yung about sa supervising the employees in order na para magtrabaho siya ng maayos, di ba? So, employees executing the plans as per the instruction. Ayan, a mental revolution to be created, establishing, ayan, understanding between the employer and of course the employees. So, sabi dito sa analyze management scientifically to find out the most effective way to do a job. Ayan, one best way. Yun nga yung findings ni Frederick Taylor about dun sa shovel na ginagamit ng isang worker, di ba? So mas marami siyang na-accomplish or mas marami siyang natatrabaho kung ganun yung style ng shovel niya. Okay? Na diniscuss na natin sa meeting. Okay? So, under the classical approach pa rin, meron pa rin tayong tinatawag na General Administrative Management Theory, which is sinabi ni Henry Fayol. So, father of modern management. So, kapag sinabi natin father of scientific management, si Frederick Taylor. Kapag father of modern management, si Henry Fayol, which is na-discuss na natin sa lesson 2 natin yung 14 principles niya o sa division of labor, ayan, scalar chain, ayan, split the curves, ayan, yung kay Henry Fayol. Okay? So, si Henry Fayol believed that a manager's job could be divided into, ayan, planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling. So, also stated a series of principles of management to guide managers to resolve problems in a particular situation. So, yun, isa nga dun yung 14 principles niya na ginawa niya, which was discussed sa lesson 2 natin, okay? So, what are the functions of management? Planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling, or yung pinatawag natin POSDCON, planning, organizing, coordinating, and controlling. And of course, meron ditong commanding, okay? So, that is the general administrative theory under classical approach. So, sabi ni Henry Fayol, may functions of management tayo, which is the planning. So, managers forecast the event. So, how will you plan? Gagawa ka ng plano. So, ano yung gagawin natin? I-forecast natin yung events na yon. So, ano yung dapat natin i-consider? What are the, yung mga pangyayaring dapat natin consider within that events. Okay? I-organize mo. Pagkatapos mo na plano, i-organize mo. Sabi ni Henry Fayol, i-organize mo yan. Determining appropriate combination of resources. So, ano ba yung mga gagamitin mong resources, materials, machines, to accomplish that plan. Okay? Commanding. So, i-direct mo na kung paano yung mga ano ba yung dapat gawin ng mga subordinates mo. Okay? And of course, coordinating. I-arrange mo na yung mga arranging and integrating group efforts towards unity of action. Coordinate kung ano ba dapat gawin ng mga empleyado. Okay, yun yung sanabi ni Henry Fayol sa functions of management. Okay? And of course, yung controlling. Ayan, how will you control it? Kapag na-accomplish ba yung isang activities? Ano ba yung is it accomplished according to the plan? Diba? Ayan. Ensuring actual activities are according to the plan. Set activities to be accomplished in industrial organizations. Okay? So, these are the 5 functions of management na in-identify ni Henry Fayol. Ayan, nandyan sa module ninyo. Planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and of course, yung controlling. And including pa rin dyan yung sinabi ko kanina, yung principles, 14 principles of management na in-identify din ni Henry Fayol na na-discuss na natin. Okay? Okay, analyze management as a universal process of, ayan, sinasabi ko kanina. Also introduce 14 na principles of management. Okay? So under sa classical approach, meron tayong scientific management theory, meron tayong general administrative theory. And under pa rin dun dyan sa classical approach, nasa module natin yung under kay bureaucracy. Ayan, under kay Max Weber. Okay? Sabi ni Max Weber, ayan, bureaucratic management. Ayan, bureaucracy is efficient and effective way. Ayan, may division of labor sila, hierarchy of authority. Siyempre, manggagaling yung command dun sa higher management and framework of rules and of course regulation. Ayan. Yun yung sinabi ni Max Weber. Na-discuss din natin yan sa lesson 2 natin. Okay? So, yan yung mga theory under classical approach. So, scientific management theory, general administrative management theory, and of course, number 3, behavioral bureaucracy theory under Max Weber. Okay? Now, let's go to behavioral approach. So, when we say behavioral approach, it talks about the behavior of the employees or the person or the people within the organization. So, behavioral. Paano ka mag-behave? Paano ba yung behavior ng empleyado na yan? So, focus on behavioral approach. Good behavior, bad behavior. So, how will you identify? Is it good or bad? Okay? So, focus on human variable to increase organizational success. Okay? Ayan na. Nakafocus siya sa human behavior in order to increase organizational success din. Okay? Human characteristics influence work output. Ayan. Dun sa study ni Hawthorne studies. And of course, Maslow advocates the human relations approach in a management theory. So, let's start with the Hawthorne approach. So, ano ba yung sinasabi ni Hawthorne approach, which was developed by Elton Mayo. So, take note of the names that na sinasabi ko dito. Baka lalabas yan sa exam. Okay? So, Elton Mayo's contribution came as part of the Hawthorne approach, Hawthorne studies. Ayan. Ayan, the Hawthorne effect. But before we discuss that, let's just play the video about in order for us to understand more, ayan, about this Hawthorne effect. Okay?
Let me ask you a question. Let's say you're working in a factory. Do you think that increased light throughout the factory would make you more productive? Maybe what about decreased light throughout the factory? Do you think you would be more productive working more hours in a day? Or do you think you'd be more productive working less hours? What about longer breaks or shorter breaks? How do you think this would affect how efficient you are? These are some of the questions that researchers asked themselves in the 1920s. They conducted a study to see whether or not workers in an electric factory would be more productive under certain conditions. And the answers were surprising. No matter how they altered the conditions of the workplace, the workers were always more productive. This phenomenon became known as the Hawthorne effect, named after the Hawthorne Works electric factory, where the studies were conducted. This video is all about the Hawthorne effect, the history of this phenomenon, and examples of this effect in everyday life, including how you can use it to increase your personal efficiency. So first off, what is this Hawthorne effect? Well, the Hawthorne effect, also known as the observer expectancy effect, is the idea that people change or modify their behaviors whenever they know they're being observed. Observation may be a variable of its own that researchers have to account for when setting up or conducting a study. This becomes a problem when running experiments, because sometimes it's difficult to administer a test without having the participants feel like they're being watched. And the Hawthorne effect doesn't just affect participants. Researchers theorize that the researchers themselves may skew the results or interpret it incorrectly due to the Hawthorne effect. So why does this happen? Well, the answers may be based on the context of the study. Take productivity studies, for example. During the Hawthorne studies, it is possible that the workers received feedback on their productivity as part of the study. That extra observation and feedback could play into increased productivity. For example, I definitely know that I work much harder whenever I know I'm being observed. Another reason is the demand effect. The participants may have wanted to please the experimenters by giving them the results that they wanted to see. This means working harder, even when variables like working hours or the lighting is changed in ways that may contradict the original hypothesis. Yet another explanation may lie in the participants' explanation for the study in the first place. Throughout the Hawthorne studies, participants started to grow wary of the researchers' motives. They worried that the study may result in layoffs, and these fears could have serious effects on motivation. One last cause of the Hawthorne effect involves a study that involves humans and a horse. If the experiments or observers are aware of the desired effect of the study, they might unintentionally skew the results. So in the early 1900s, William von Holstein claimed that his horse, Clever Hans, could answer arithmetic questions. A German psychologist was blown away by this and went to study the horse and see if the owner was actually a fraud. And while fraud was not involved, the psychologist observed something interesting. If the owner was present, or if the owner knew the answers to the arithmetic questions, the horse was able to answer correctly 89% 100% of the time. However, if the owner was not present or he didn't know the answer, the horse only answered correctly 6% of the time. Further studies, kind of a strange situation, and further studies on the Clever Hans effect show that drug-sniffing dogs and humans are likely to produce a certain result if the experimenters, the owners, or the observers in the room know that the result is desired. There have been many replication studies aimed at proving or disproving the presence of this Hawthorne effect, and not all of them have confirmed the existence of the Hawthorne effect, especially to the degree that was described in the original Hawthorne studies. But some studies do give quite a bit of validity to the Hawthorne effect and how it may change the results of different research studies. For example, number one is a study from the American College of Rheumatology that showed that the Hawthorne effect may have played a role in the results of the study on rheumatoid arthritis. Researchers measured the subject's conditions before, during, and after the trial, and no matter what variables were brought into the study, the conditions of the patients improved. Once the study was over, the conditions worsened. Now this goes to show that while the Hawthorne effect has been a part of productivity and human behavior studies, it can also affect the results of studies in the medical world. Example number two is cerebral palsy patients. So contradicting data can actually show the Hawthorne effect in action. In the 1970s, a study aimed to see whether or not a treatment would reduce motor dysfunction in patients with cerebral palsy. The researchers recorded testimony from the patients about the result of the treatment and quantitative data based on different tests that they gave them. As it turned out, the qualitative and quantitative data contradicted each other. The patients said that the treatment worked for them, but the results showed otherwise. Now, this could support the idea that motives, the demand effect, and something called the compliance bias could all play into the results of a study. Lastly, we have the example of clinical trials. So when subjects are recruited for a clinical trial, they may be forbidden from leaving the hospital or a research facility, wherever that test is being taken place at. And some researchers believe that not only does the Hawthorne effect take place here, but also an effect called trial effect. In addition to the modifications in behavior caused by observers, subjects may also be affected by the level of care in the facility. In addition, they may be more likely to comply with the researchers, and the compliance could then affect results. For example, if you're testing whether orange juice lowers cortisol levels, it might just be the luxurious clinical resort that you're at and not the orange juice, if you think of it like a vacation. So in order to further study human behavior, researchers often need human experiments. Now the Hawthorne effect is a reminder that humans are very complicated to work with and measure. How can researchers prevent subjects from giving the answers that researchers might want them to hear? Or how do they set up a study to best reflect a normal environment, including living or working conditions? And how can all of this be done ethically? These are some important questions, and right now the answer isn't really definite. But the more that you study psychology and understand setting up studies, the easier it will be to question results and search for the truth. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope you learned a little bit more about the Hawthorne effect. If you have any questions at all, feel completely free to leave a comment below or watch the rest of my social psychology videos in the series. Until next time.
Okay, that is the Hawthorne effect. Ayan. Referred to as the observer effect. Ayan, kapag syempre, ayan, gaya na nga sinabi na dun sa video, kapag may nag-o-observe sa'yo, you are working. Ayan, may nagsusurvey, sa'yo, you are working hard, di ba? May ginagawa ka, di ba? Nagiging productive ka, ayan. Kapag may tumitingin sa'yo. So, individuals modify or improve an aspects of their behavior in their response to their awareness of being observed. So, that is all about the Hawthorne effect. So, nagbigay dun sa video, nagbigay pa siya ng about sa cerebral palsy, ayan, kung ano yung mga epekto niya, di ba? So, that is all about the Hawthorne effect. So, if you're being observed, you are being productive, okay? So, same days dito sa picture, ayan, okay? So, that is all about the Hawthorne effect by Elton Mayo. Now, let's go to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, I will play again a video before we discuss this slide.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a theory in psychology. It argues that there are 5 stages of human needs that motivate our behavior. Abraham Maslow proposed his theory in 1943 after studying what he called exemplary people, such as Albert Einstein or Eleanor Roosevelt. First, there are physiological needs, such as the need to breathe, eat, drink, or sleep. The moment we get enough of that and we feel awake and our bellies are full, we get motivated by the next thing. Now we want safety. We try to earn money, build up resources, and look for shelter that protects us against dangers. Once we are satisfied and feel safe, we have time to think about what we want next. At stage 3, we seek love and belonging. We desire to be close to family and friends, belong to a society, or join a gang. But the moment we feel completely part of a group, we already wish to be a little different than the rest. At stage 4, we look for esteem, self-confidence, and respect from our peers. We want to be someone. If we have money, we buy a fancy watch. If we have a brain, we write or think or work a lot. Motivation to perform and compete is now at its highest. Students, sportsmen, and inventors excel. Neil Armstrong even flew to the moon. Only if we breathe and drink and eat and sleep enough, and we feel safe and part of a group and still special, only then can we reach level 5, self-actualization. Now we can relax, be creative, accept facts for what they are, give back, or do whatever we want. No more pressure, unless of course there is trouble below. If you are a leader and believe in the theory, use it. First, make sure everyone has eaten well. Then make them feel safe and help them belong to a group. Once they feel they belong, they are ready to stand out and excel. Thanks for watching.
Okay, that is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, una dyan, yung first natin is yung physiological needs. And of course, kapag na-satisfy dun sa physiological needs natin, ayan, kailangan din naman natin ng safety. And of course, na-satisfy din naman tayo sa safety, kailangan natin ng love and belonging. Ayan. With your friendship, family, ayan, sexual intimacy, and of course, naabot na natin yung self-esteem natin. Next is our self-esteem, ayan, confidence, achievements, ayan, respect of others, and respect by, ayan, my self-respect, and you get respected, and ayan, respect begets respect, ayan, self-esteem na tayo. And of course, yung pinakalas na dun sa pinakamataas dun sa pyramid natin is yung self-actualization. Kung nasasatisfy tayo sa physiological needs, safetyness, and love and belonging, and of course self-esteem natin, nandun na tayo sa self-actualization. So that is one of the behavioral approach na sinabi natin sa na about sa theory ni Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Ayan, kapag nasatisfy tayo, meron na tayong self-actualization. So, sino ba si Abraham Maslow? So, siya yung psychologist who studied positive human qualities and the lives of exemplary people. So, Maslow created the hierarchy of human needs and expressing theories in his books na meron na ginawa siya about sa motivation and personality. Okay? So, when we say self-actualization, a person's motivation to reach his or her full potential. Okay? Then, as shown on this in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, ayan, nagsimula siya sa person's basic needs and must be met before yan, self-actualization can be achieved. Yan. So, nasatisfied nagsimula siya sa physiological needs and until sa self-esteem. Ayan. And then, magkakaroon ka na ng self-actualization. So, acceptance of facts, morality, problema solving. So, yun yung hierarchy of needs ng isang tao para kay Maslow. Abraham Maslow. Okay? Abraham Harold Maslow. Okay? So, alam natin yung familiar tayo sa hierarchy of needs. So, napag-aralan natin yan noong tayo ay elementary pa lamang, elementary, high school, college. Ayan, hanggang dito sa college natin, napapag-aralan na natin yan. And natin din. Na of course, madadala din natin yan kapag tayo ay nagtrabaho, di ba? So, parang hindi ako satisfied sa ginagawa ko. So, hindi ko pa na-reach yung self-actualization ko. Ayan. So, yun yung about sa hierarchy of needs ni Abraham Maslow. So, lastly, sa ano natin, sa behavioral approach natin is we have the theory X and the theory Y. Okay? Na-discuss din natin to sa last topic natin, sa lesson 2 natin about kay sinabi ni sino yung proponent dito, si Douglas MacGregor, theory X and Y. So mas maganda yung theory Y kasi naka-align siya sa pag-develop sa mga empleyado. Kapag sa theory Y, about lang ayaw ko ng trabaho, so ganito yung gagawin ko. So let's discuss about, let's start with the attitude. So ano ba yung attitude ni theory Y or theory X? So, ayaw niya ng trabaho, find it boring, naboboring siya, will avoid, and ina-avoidan niya yung mga trabaho. Unlike kay theory Y na, sabi niya dito, we need to work and want to take an interest in it. So, under the right conditions, we are enjoying work, okay? Sa direction naman, we must be forced or coerced to make the right effort. So, kailangang i-force mo pa yung empleyado sa theory X. Pero sa theory Y, we will direct ourselves towards a target that we accept it. Ayan. Regarding sa responsibility naman, sabi ni theory X, we would rather be directed than accept responsibility. Ayan. Sabi naman ni theory Y, we will seek and accept responsibility. So, si theory X, ayaw niya ng responsibility. Si theory Y, gustong-gusto niya ng responsibility in order, para ma-train siya, makapag-gain siya ng skills. Ayan, kaya gustong-gusto ni theory Y ng responsibility. Sabi about sa motivation naman, we are motivated mainly by money. Kaya theory X lang yan. Pero kay theory Y, under the right conditions, we are motivated by the desire to realize our own potential. So, sino dito yung namomotivate lang sa salary? Under theory X ka. Ayan. Diba? So, pero naman, talaga naman yung mostly sa atin, aminin na natin na we are working for a salary. We are working to earn a living, diba? Pero, do not take it for granted that ako nagtatrabaho lang ako para magkapera. Hindi naman. So, magtatrabaho ka to improve your skills also, to improve your own, to discover your own potential. Ayan. Ayan yung sabi ni theory Y. So, about sa creativity naman, most of us have little creativity except when it comes to getting around the rules. Ayan, kay theory X yan. Pero sabi ni theory Y, we are highly creative creatures but are rarely recognized as such or given the opportunity to be. So, highly creative creatures si theory Y. Okay, so the difference between theory X and Y, ayan, mas maganda naman yung we should practice if you are going to be employed soon, maging theory Y yung susundin natin, okay? Hindi yung theory X, okay? So, that was developed by Douglas MacArthur, okay? Ayan, we reach the end of our lesson, and to sum up, what are the classical approach? What are the theories under classical approach? We have the scientific management theory, which was developed by Frederick Winslow Taylor, and of course we have the general administrative theory, which was developed by Henry Fayol, and lastly, for classical approaches, we have also the bureaucratic theory, which was developed by Max Weber. Okay, so under dito naman sa behavioral approach, we have the Hawthorne effect, which dinevelop ni Ma'am Elton Mayo, and of course yung Maslow's hierarchy of needs na sinabi ni Abraham Maslow, and yung last natin is yung theory and X and Y na sinabi ni Douglas MacGregor. So those are the classical approach and the behavioral approach. Okay? So sa lesson 4 natin, di-discuss natin yung ibang approach na about sa management. Okay? So let's go now to your requirements. Okay, for your requirements for lesson 3, ayan, activity 1. For activity 1, true or false. Right, true if the statement is correct, and false if it is incorrect. Okay? And letter activity 2, research on the 3 remaining approach. Ayan, yung sa susunod na topic natin, lesson 4, it's research on the 3 remaining approach to management and differentiate them in 10 to 15 sentences. So, i-research mo lang, i-differentiate mo lang yung tatlo, okay? Which is the contingency approach, system analysis approach, and management science approach. Okay? So, that is the end of our topic, our lecture for today, and I hope you're doing great. Sinasagutan natin yung mga requirements natin, and this is to remind you na August 27 is the deadline for week 1. Okay? So, bye-bye and God bless.